The airport was buzzing with its usual morning chaos. People rushing everywhere, dragging suitcases, checking their phones, grabbing last-minute coffee. Among them was Maya Johnson, a 32-year-old woman who had woken up at 4 a.m. for this exact moment. She wore a navy blue business suit that she'd pressed the night before, her natural hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her hands gripped the handle of her carry-on bag as she navigated through the crowded terminal, her heart beating a little faster than normal. This wasn't just any flight. This was the flight that could change everything. Maya had been working in marketing for almost 10 years, grinding away at a mid-size firm in Atlanta, doing good work, but never quite getting that big break. 3 months ago, she'd pitched an idea to her boss about going after a major corporation based in New York. It was bold, maybe even a little crazy, but her boss had given her the green light. Now, after weeks of preparation, countless late nights, and more cups of coffee than she could count, she was finally going to present her proposal in person. She checked her phone. 6:30 in the morning. Her flight was at 7:45, and she'd arrived with plenty of time to spare. Maya didn't believe in cutting things close, especially not today. She'd checked in online the night before, so all she needed to do was get through security, find her gate, and breathe. The terminal was a sea of faces, all strangers with their own destinations, their own stories. Maya walked past a family trying to wrangle 3 young kids, a businessman barking into his phone about quarterly reports, a young couple holding hands and looking at a departure board. Everyone was in their own world, focused on where they needed to be. That's when she saw her. Near the check-in counter, an elderly woman stood alone, surrounded by bags that seemed far too heavy for someone her age. She looked to be in her late 70s or early 80s, with silver hair that caught the fluorescent lights of the airport. She wore a powder blue cardigan that had seen better days and sensible shoes that probably came from a catalog. But it was her face that made Maya slow down. The woman looked lost, genuinely confused, staring at one of those self-service kiosks like it was some kind of alien technology. Maya watched as the woman tentatively reached out to touch the screen, then pulled her hand back. She looked around as if hoping someone might help her, but the airport staff at the counter were busy with their own lines, and other travelers just streamed past her without a second glance. Maya checked her watch again. She had time. Plenty of time. She could get through security in 20 minutes, maybe 15 if the line wasn't too bad. Her gate was in Concourse B, which wasn't far. She'd be fine. But something made her keep watching the elderly woman. Maybe it was the way her shoulders seemed to slump with each passing moment. Maybe it was the slight tremor in her hands as she tried again to use the kiosk. Or maybe it was something deeper. A memory of Maya's own grandmother, who had raised her after her parents died in a car accident when she was 7 years old. Grandma Rose had been everything to Maya. She'd worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over their heads, helped with homework every night, taught Maya how to cook, how to pray, how to stand tall even when the world tried to make you feel small. When Grandma Rose had passed away 5 years ago, Maya had made a promise at her funeral. She'd promised to be the kind of person who helped others, the way her grandmother had helped her. The elderly woman tried to pick up one of her bags and stumbled slightly. A few people glanced her way but kept walking. Maya sighed. She couldn't just walk past. She adjusted her grip on her carry-on and walked over to the woman, putting on her warmest smile. "Excuse me, ma'am. Do you need some help?" The woman turned, and Maya could see the relief flood her face. Up close, she looked even more fragile. Her eyes were a pale blue, watery with what might have been tears or just age. Deep lines etched her face, and when she smiled back at Maya, it was shaky but genuine. "Oh, bless you, dear," the woman said, her voice soft and slightly hoarse. "I'm sorry to be a bother. I just can't seem to figure out this machine. Everything's computers now. When did checking in for a flight become so complicated?" Maya felt her heart squeeze. "It's no bother at all. Let me help you. Do you have your confirmation number?" "I think so." The woman began rummaging through a large purse that seemed to contain everything but what she was looking for. Tissues, reading glasses, a small photo album, hard candies, receipts. "I wrote it down somewhere. My daughter helped me book it online, but she couldn't come with me today. She has work, you see. And I told her I'd be fine, but now I feel like such a fool." "You're not a fool," Maya said gently. She glanced at her watch. "Still okay on time. Take your time. We'll find it." As the woman continued searching, Maya noticed how badly her hands were shaking. It wasn't just nervousness. The tremor was constant, making it hard for her to grasp the small pieces of paper in her purse. "Here it is." The woman finally pulled out a crumpled paper with numbers written in shaky handwriting. "My name is Eleanor, by the way. Eleanor Montgomery. Nice to meet you, Eleanor. I'm Maya." She took the paper carefully and began entering the information into the kiosk. "Where are you heading today?" "Seattle. My sister lives there. She's in the hospital and—" Eleanor's voice cracked. "They don't think she has much time left. We haven't seen each other in 3 years. I know I should have visited sooner, but with my arthritis and everything, traveling is so hard now." Maya's fingers paused over the screen. She looked at Eleanor and saw tears beginning to roll down her weathered cheeks. This wasn't just a woman who needed help with a kiosk. This was someone going through something really difficult, and she was doing it alone. "I'm so sorry about your sister," Maya said softly. "We're going to get you checked in and on that flight. Don't worry." She continued working through the prompts, selecting Eleanor's seat, printing her boarding pass. The kiosk spit out the paper and Maya handed it to her along with a baggage tag. "Okay, so you'll need to take your larger bags over to that counter there where it says bag drop. They'll take care of your luggage. Then you'll go through security and head to gate C7. Do you have someone meeting you in Seattle?" Eleanor nodded, clutching the boarding pass like it was precious. "My nephew. He's a good boy. Well, he's 40 now, but he's still my good boy." Just as Eleanor reached for her largest suitcase, she swayed on her feet. Maya grabbed her arm to steady her, and that's when Eleanor's purse slipped from her other hand, hitting the floor and spilling its contents everywhere. Pills. Little orange bottles of pills scattered across the terminal floor, rolling in different directions. Some went under people's feet, others toward the check-in counter. Maya immediately knelt down, trying to gather them up before they got kicked away. Eleanor looked mortified, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Oh no. Oh no," Eleanor kept repeating, trying to bend down but clearly unable to without losing her balance. "Stay standing," Maya instructed, her professional presentation completely forgotten now. She was on her hands and knees in her pressed suit, chasing down pill bottles while travelers stepped around her. Some annoyed, some oblivious. And that's when the announcement came over the loudspeaker, crystal clear and impossibly timed. "Attention passengers on Flight 2847 to New York LaGuardia. We are now beginning general boarding at Gate B12. Again, Flight 2847 to New York is now boarding. Maya's flight. Her career-changing, life-altering, incredibly important flight was boarding right now." Maya froze on her knees, a pill bottle in each hand. The announcement echoed through the terminal again, almost mocking her. Flight 2847 to New York now boarding. Her flight. Her presentation. Her future. She looked up at Eleanor, who was still standing there looking absolutely mortified, one hand pressed against her chest as if trying to hold herself together. The elderly woman's face had gone pale, and those watery blue eyes were filled with such genuine distress that Maya felt something twist in her chest. "I'm so sorry, dear," Eleanor whispered, her voice breaking. "That's your flight, isn't it? You need to go. Please, just go. I'll manage somehow." Maya glanced toward the security checkpoint in the distance. She could still make it. If she left right now, this second, she could sprint through security, run to gate B12, and probably make it just as they were finishing boarding. Her carry-on was already packed. Her presentation was loaded on her laptop. 3 months of work all ready to go. She looked back down at the pills scattered across the dirty airport floor, then back at Eleanor, who was now trembling so badly she had to lean against the kiosk for support. And in that moment, Maya saw her grandmother. She saw Grandma Rose at 79, trying to navigate a world that had moved too fast for her, surrounded by technology she didn't understand, needing help, but too proud to ask for it. She remembered the time Grandma Rose had gotten lost trying to use the new bus system in Atlanta, before cell phones were common, and had wandered for 3 hours before a kind stranger had helped her get home. What would she want someone to do for Grandma Rose? The answer was obvious. Maya took a deep breath and continued gathering the pills. "Eleanor, I need you to hold on to this counter and stay right there, okay? Don't move. But your flight?" "We'll leave without me," Maya said, surprised at how calm her voice sounded even though her heart was hammering. "And that's okay. You need help right now, and I'm going to help you." She collected the last of the pill bottles, checking each label. Blood pressure medication. Arthritis pills. Something for anxiety. She placed them all carefully back into Eleanor's purse and stood up, brushing off her knees. Her suit had a smudge on it now, but that seemed like the least of her problems. Eleanor's eyes were swimming with tears again. "I can't let you miss your flight for me. You don't even know me. I know you're trying to see your sister, and I know you need help getting there safely," Maya said. She pulled out her phone and quickly sent a text to her boss. "Emergency at airport. Going to miss flight. Will explain." She didn't wait for a response before slipping the phone back in her pocket. "Now let's get you sorted out. First, I think you should sit down. You look like you're about to fall over." She guided Eleanor to a nearby row of seats, helping her settle into one. Eleanor sank down with a grateful sigh, and Maya could see the exhaustion written all over her face. This woman wasn't just old. She was tired, scared, and completely overwhelmed. "When did you last eat?" Maya asked. Eleanor blinked. I had some toast this morning. Around 5, it was almost 7 now. "Okay, wait here. Don't move." Maya left her carry-on with Eleanor and hurried to the nearest coffee shop, grabbing a bottle of orange juice and a banana. When she returned, Eleanor tried to protest, but Maya wasn't having it. "Drink this," she said firmly. "Low blood sugar isn't going to help anything." As Eleanor sipped the juice, some color started returning to her face. Maya sat down next to her, watching another announcement board flash updates about various flights. She saw Flight 2847 change from boarding to final call. Her stomach dropped, but she forced herself to stay focused on Eleanor. "Feeling a little better?" Maya asked. Eleanor nodded, managing a weak smile. "You're an angel!" "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stopped." "You would have figured it out," Maya said, though she wasn't entirely sure that was true. Eleanor looked so fragile, so lost. "But I'm glad I could help. Now we need to get your bags checked and get you through security. Your flight to Seattle leaves at 9:15, right?"
"Yes, but what about you?"
"What about your flight?" Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and saw 3 missed calls from her boss and a text that read, "What kind of emergency? Call me now." She silenced the phone. "My flight is gone. I'll figure something out later. Right now, you're the priority." They made their way slowly to the bag drop counter. Very slowly. Eleanor couldn't walk very fast, and her largest suitcase kept trying to tip over because one of the wheels was broken. Maya ended up carrying that bag herself, while Eleanor managed a smaller one with wheels that actually worked. The line at bag drop was long. Of course it was. Maya checked the time obsessively, calculating in her head. Eleanor's flight was in 2 hours and 15 minutes. They had time, but not a lot of it, especially if security was backed up. As they waited in line, Eleanor started talking. Maybe it was the relief of having help, or maybe she was just the kind of person who needed to talk when she was nervous, but the words came pouring out. "My sister's name is Dorothy," Eleanor said quietly. "We grew up together in a little town in Oregon, just the 2 of us and our parents. We were best friends our whole lives. Did everything together. Then I met my husband and moved to Arizona, and she met her husband and stayed in Seattle. We promised we'd visit all the time, but life gets busy, you know? Years go by faster than you think." Maya nodded, listening. "My husband passed away 6 years ago," Eleanor continued, her voice getting softer. "And after that, traveling just seemed so hard. Dorothy kept asking me to come, but I kept making excuses. My arthritis, my anxiety, the cost of flights, and now," her voice cracked, "now she's dying and I wasted 6 years being afraid of getting on an airplane." "You're on one now," Maya said gently. "That's what matters." "Only because my daughter practically forced me. She bought the ticket, printed out all the information, drove me here this morning, but then she had to go to work and I told her I'd be fine, that I wasn't a child." Eleanor laughed bitterly. "Look at me. Can't even work a computer screen." "Those kiosks are confusing for everyone," Maya assured her. "Half the time I can't figure them out either." They finally reached the counter. The airline employee, a young woman with her hair in a tight ponytail, looked tired and impatient. She barely glanced at Eleanor before asking for her ID and boarding pass. As Eleanor fumbled in her purse with shaking hands, the employee sighed audibly. Maya felt a flash of anger but bit her tongue. Finally, Eleanor produced her driver's license and the employee scanned it along with the boarding pass. "Bag is too heavy," the employee said flatly, looking at a screen. 53 pounds. Limit is 50. You'll need to pay an overweight fee. $75, Eleanor's face fell. $75? But I didn't know. I can take some things out. No room here for repacking, the employee said, already looking past them to the next person in line. Pay the fee or step aside. Maya saw Eleanor's hands shaking worse now as she tried to open her wallet. The elderly woman was clearly on the verge of tears again, overwhelmed by yet another obstacle. Without thinking, Maya pulled out her own credit card. I'll pay it, she said. Maya, no. Eleanor started to protest. It's fine, Maya said, handing the card to the employee. Just charge it. The transaction went through, the bag was tagged and sent off, and they moved away from the counter. Eleanor was openly crying now, not loudly, just silent tears rolling down her weathered cheeks. I can't believe you did that, she whispered. First you miss your flight, now you're spending your money on me. I'll pay you back, I promise. Don't worry about it, Maya said, though $75 definitely hurt. She wasn't rich by any means. But what was done was done. Come on, we need to get you through security. They joined the security line, which snaked back and forth in a maze of rope barriers. Maya could see Eleanor was already exhausted, breathing heavily, leaning on her remaining carry-on bag for support. The line moved slowly, painfully slowly. Maya's phone rang. Her boss again. She knew she needed to answer, needed to explain, but what could she say? That she'd missed the most important meeting of her career to help a stranger? It sounded crazy even in her own head. She answered anyway. Hi, Mr. Peterson, where are you? His voice was sharp, angry. The clients are waiting. They flew in specifically for this meeting. Do you have any idea how bad this looks? I know, and I'm so sorry, Maya said, moving slightly away from Eleanor so the elderly woman wouldn't hear. There was an emergency at the airport. A medical situation. I couldn't just leave. A medical situation? Are you in the hospital? No, I'm helping someone who… Then you should have gotten on that plane, Mr. Peterson interrupted. Maya, I gave you this opportunity. I went to bat for you with the partners. And you're telling me you missed the flight to play Good Samaritan? Maya felt her face flush hot. It's not like that. There was an elderly woman who needed help. I don't care if it was the Queen of England. You had a job to do and you didn't do it. There was a pause and then his voice got colder. We'll discuss this when you get back to Atlanta. If you still have a job to get back to. The line went dead. Maya stood there, phone in hand, feeling like she'd been punched in the stomach. If you still have a job to get back to, she might have just thrown away her entire career. She looked over at Eleanor, who was now leaning heavily against the rope barrier, her face gray with fatigue. And despite everything, despite the missed flight and the angry boss and the uncertain future, Maya knew she'd made the right choice. She just hoped that would be enough. Maya slipped her phone back into her pocket and returned to Eleanor's side, trying to push down the panic rising in her chest. The security line inched forward at a glacial pace, and she could see Eleanor was struggling more with each passing minute. The elderly woman's breathing had become labored, and she kept pressing her hand against her chest. Are you okay? Maya asked, concerned. Eleanor nodded, but it wasn't convincing. Just a bit anxious. I get like this sometimes. The pills help, but they take a while to work. Maya remembered the anxiety medication she'd seen among the scattered pills earlier. Did you take one this morning? I was supposed to, Eleanor admitted. But I was running late and my daughter was rushing me and I just forgot. I'm such a mess. You're not a mess, Maya said firmly. You're dealing with a lot right now. Anyone would be overwhelmed. They shuffled forward another few feet. The line seemed endless. Maya watched as a family of 4 ahead of them took forever getting their electronics out of their bags, arguing about whether they needed to remove their shoes. A business traveler behind them kept sighing dramatically, checking his expensive watch every 30 seconds. Eleanor swayed slightly, and Maya grabbed her arm to steady her. I think I need to sit down, Eleanor whispered, her voice weak. Maya looked around frantically. There were no chairs in the security line area, nowhere to rest, and if they left the line now, they'd have to start all over again at the back, which could take another 40 minutes they didn't have. Just lean on me, Maya said, positioning herself so Eleanor could use her for support. We're going to get through this line and then you can rest on the other side, okay? Eleanor nodded, but was clearly getting worse. Her skin had taken on a grayish tinge, and sweat beaded on her forehead despite the air-conditioned terminal. Her breathing became more rapid, shallow. The business traveler behind them spoke up, his tone irritated. If she's sick, maybe she shouldn't be flying. Maya turned to face him, and something in her expression must have been fierce because he actually took a step back. She's fine, Maya said in a voice that didn't invite argument. And she needs to get to Seattle to see her dying sister, so maybe show a little compassion. The man's face reddened, but he didn't say anything else. He just pulled out his phone and started scrolling aggressively. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, they reached the front of the security line. Maya helped Eleanor get her shoes off, which was a struggle because Eleanor's arthritis made bending down nearly impossible. Maya ended up kneeling down again, untying the laces of Eleanor's sensible walking shoes while other passengers moved around them. "I'm holding everyone up," Eleanor said miserably. "They can wait," Maya replied, though she could feel the impatient energy of the crowd behind them. Getting Eleanor through the metal detector was another challenge. The elderly woman moved so slowly, and when the detector beeped, she looked terrified. A TSA agent, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, noticed Eleanor's distress and gently explained it was probably her jewelry. "Do you have a necklace on, sweetheart?" the agent asked. Eleanor touched her neck and pulled out a thin gold chain with a small cross. "It was my mother's. I never take it off." "That's fine, but we need to check it."
Can you remove it just for a moment?
Eleanor's hands shook so badly she couldn't work the tiny clasp. Maya stepped forward to help, carefully unfastening the necklace and placing it in a bin. Eleanor looked naked without it, vulnerable, like removing that small piece of jewelry had stripped away her last defense. This time she made it through the detector without issue. But as Maya helped her put her shoes back on and returned the necklace, she noticed Eleanor's breathing had become even worse. Short, rapid gasps that made her whole body shake. "Eleanor, I think you're having a panic attack," Maya said quietly, remembering what she'd learned in a first aid course years ago. "We need to get you somewhere you can sit down and breathe slowly." "I can't breathe," Eleanor gasped. "Something's wrong." My chest, oh, that was all Maya needed to hear. She looked around and spotted an airport employee nearby, a young man in an airline uniform pushing an empty wheelchair. "Excuse me," Maya called out, waving him over. "We need help. This woman is having trouble breathing." The employee's eyes widened and he immediately radioed for medical assistance. Within minutes, 2 paramedics appeared with a medical kit. Kneeling beside Eleanor, who was now sitting on the floor because she couldn't stand anymore. Maya watched as they checked Eleanor's vital signs, asked her questions, gave her oxygen. A crowd had formed, curious onlookers craning their necks to see what was happening. The business traveler from the security line walked past, shaking his head like this had personally inconvenienced him. "Ma'am, are you family?" one of the paramedics asked Maya. "No, I'm just..." Maya paused. What was she? A stranger who'd decided to help? "I'm her friend. We're traveling together." It was a lie, but it felt true somehow. In the past hour, she'd become more invested in Eleanor's well-being than she was in her own career prospects. "Her vitals are stable," the paramedic said. "Looks like an anxiety attack, not cardiac. But we'd like to take her to the medical office to rest and make sure everything's okay." Eleanor shook her head weakly. "My flight. I'll miss my flight to see Dorothy." "Your health is more important," the paramedic said gently. "No," Eleanor insisted, pulling off the oxygen mask. "You don't understand. My sister is dying. This might be my last chance to say goodbye. I've already wasted so much time. I can't miss this flight." Maya saw the determination in Eleanor's eyes mixed with desperation and fear. She knelt down beside her, taking her hand. "Eleanor, if something happens to you on that plane, you won't make it to Seattle at all. You need to rest, get your breathing under control. Will you stay with me?" Eleanor asked, squeezing Maya's hand with surprising strength. Maya thought about her own problems waiting back in Atlanta. Her furious boss, the missed presentation, the clients she'd probably lost, her career hanging by a thread. She should be trying to book another flight, doing damage control, figuring out how to salvage this disaster. Instead, she squeezed back. "Of course I'll stay with you." They went to the airport medical office, a small room tucked away behind the gates with the examination bed, some basic equipment and posters about recognizing heart attack symptoms. The paramedics got Eleanor settled on the bed, propped up with pillows, and continued monitoring her. Maya sat in a plastic chair beside her, still holding her hand. She pulled out her phone and saw 17 missed calls and 34 text messages. She didn't even look at them. Instead, she used her phone to find Eleanor's flight information. "Your flight board's in 45 minutes, Maya told her. That gives you time to rest and get your breathing back to normal. Eleanor nodded, her eyes closed. The oxygen mask was back on and her chest was rising and falling more steadily now. The color was slowly returning to her face. One of the paramedics pulled Maya aside. "Is there someone we should call? Family?" "She has a daughter," Maya said, "but I don't have her number. It would be in the patient's phone." "Can you check?" Maya gently asked Eleanor for her phone, and the elderly woman pointed weakly to her purse. Inside, Maya found an old flip phone, the kind nobody used anymore. She opened it and navigated to the contacts, finding an entry labeled Katie, daughter. She stepped outside the medical office to make the call. A woman answered on the second ring, her voice hurried. "Mom, is everything okay?" "Hi, this isn't your mother." "My name is Maya. I'm here at the airport with your mom. She's okay, but she had an anxiety attack. She's with paramedics right now." There was a sharp intake of breath. "Oh my God. I knew I shouldn't have left her alone." "I knew it. Is she going to be okay?" "Should I come back?" "I'm already at work, but I can—" "She's stable," Maya interrupted gently. "The paramedics say it was anxiety, not her heart. But I thought you should know. Who are you?" "How do you know my mother?" It was a fair question. "I saw her struggling at the check-in counter and stopped to help. I've been with her since then, making sure she gets to her flight." There was a long pause. "You're a complete stranger and you've been helping my mom?" "Yes." Another pause, and then Maya heard the woman's voice crack. "Thank you. I've been so worried about her traveling alone, but I couldn't take the day off work. We're short-staffed, and my boss said if I left I might lose my job. I feel terrible about it." Maya felt a pang of recognition. She understood that fear of losing a job, that pressure to choose work over everything else. "She's going to be okay. I'm going to make sure she gets on that plane to Seattle. I don't know how to thank you. Just make sure someone picks her up when she lands. She's going to need help on the other end, too." After she hung up, Maya returned to the medical office. Eleanor had removed the oxygen mask and was sitting up a bit, looking more alert. "I called your daughter," Maya said. "She was worried, but I told her you're okay." "I bet she's mad at me for being such trouble," Eleanor said. "No, she's just worried. She loves you." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears again. "I've been nothing but a burden to everyone today. To Katie, to you, to these paramedics. I don't know why I thought I could do this trip alone." Maya sat back down and took Eleanor's hand again. "You're not a burden. You're a woman trying to see her sister one last time. That's brave, not burdensome." "You've sacrificed so much to help me," Eleanor said. "Your flight, your important meeting. I heard you on the phone earlier. You might lose your job because of me." Maya hadn't realized Eleanor had heard that. She tried to smile, though it felt shaky. "That's not your fault. I made a choice. Why?" Eleanor asked, searching Maya's face. "Why would you do that for someone you don't even know?" Maya thought about it, really thought about it. "My grandmother raised me," she finally said. "She was the most important person in my life. She passed away 5 years ago and I still miss her every single day. She taught me that money comes and goes, jobs come and go, but how you treat people, the kindness you show, that's what lasts." She paused, swallowing the lump in her throat. "When I saw you struggling at that kiosk, I saw my grandmother. And I thought about how I'd want someone to help her if she needed it. So I helped you. It's that simple." Eleanor was crying openly now, but these were different tears. "Your grandmother raised an amazing woman. She'd probably tell me I was crazy for missing my flight," Maya said with a small laugh. "But she'd also understand why I did it." The paramedic came back over. "Mrs. Montgomery, your breathing is much better. I think you're okay to catch your flight, but I want you to take it easy. No rushing, no stress. If you start feeling that tightness in your chest again, tell a flight attendant immediately." Eleanor nodded. "I will, thank you." Maya helped Eleanor gather her things and walked with her toward the gate. They moved slowly, taking breaks when Eleanor needed them. Maya carried Eleanor's carry-on bag along with her own and kept checking the time. They reached gate C7 with 20 minutes to spare before boarding. Eleanor sank into one of the seats with a sigh of relief. Maya sat beside her, suddenly feeling exhausted herself. "I need to pay you back," Eleanor said. Maya shook her head immediately. "Eleanor, please. You don't owe me anything, but the baggage fee and your time and your job—" "Stop," Maya said gently but firmly. "Seriously. I'm just glad you're okay and that you're going to make it to Seattle to see your sister." Eleanor looked at her with such intensity that Maya almost felt uncomfortable. The elderly woman's pale blue eyes seemed to be searching for something, studying Maya's face like she was trying to memorize every detail. "You have no idea what you've done for me today," Eleanor said quietly. "Not just the practical help, though, that was everything. But you treated me like I mattered, like I was worth your time. Do you know how rare that is?" Maya didn't know what to say to that, so she just squeezed Eleanor's hand. "I travel sometimes," Eleanor continued, her voice taking on a thoughtful tone. "Not often anymore, but sometimes. And I've noticed how people look at old folks like me, like we're invisible, or worse, like we're obstacles in their way. People push past us, talk over us, act annoyed when we can't move as fast or understand things as quickly." She paused, wiping at her eyes with a tissue from her purse. "You didn't do any of that. You saw me as a person." "You are a person," Maya said simply. "Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity." Eleanor smiled, a real smile this time that made her whole face light up. "Your grandmother taught you well." They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching other passengers gather at the gate. A young couple with a baby, a businessman in an expensive suit typing furiously on his laptop, a group of college students laughing about something on their phones. Maya pulled out her own phone, finally forcing herself to look at the messages. Most were from her boss, getting progressively angrier. A few were from colleagues who'd heard what happened, expressing sympathy but also confusion. One was from her roommate asking if she was okay. She started composing a text to her boss, trying to explain, trying to salvage something from this mess. But what could she say? How could she make him understand that helping Eleanor had felt more important than any presentation? "What will you do?" Eleanor asked, noticing Maya staring at her phone. "About your job?" Maya sighed. "I honestly don't know. I'll probably get fired, and even if I don't, I've definitely lost that client. 3 months of work down the drain." She tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. "I should probably start updating my resume." "What kind of work do you do?" "Marketing. I help companies figure out how to connect with customers, how to tell their stories in a way that resonates with people." Maya set her phone down. "Ironic, isn't it? I'm supposed to be good at understanding what people need and want, but I couldn't figure out how to be in 2 places at once today." "You made the right choice," Eleanor said firmly. "Did I, though?" Maya heard the doubt in her own voice. "I mean, helping you was the right thing to do as a human being, but was it the right choice for my career? For my future? I don't know anymore." "Sometimes the right choice costs us something," Eleanor said. "That doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it hard." The gate agent's voice came over the speaker, announcing that they'd begin boarding in 10 minutes, starting with passengers needing assistance. "That's you," Maya said, standing up. "Let me get you to the front of the line." But Eleanor reached out and grabbed Maya's wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. "Wait, before I board, I need to tell you something." There was something in Eleanor's tone that made Maya sit back down. The elderly woman was looking at her with an expression that was hard to read, serious, almost nervous. "Okay," Maya said slowly. Eleanor took a deep breath. "I haven't been completely honest with you. Well, I haven't lied exactly, but I haven't told you everything either." Maya felt a flutter of concern. "What do you mean?" "My full name is Eleanor Patricia Montgomery," Eleanor said, watching Maya's face carefully. "Does that name mean anything to you?" Maya shook her head. "Should it?" Eleanor reached into her large purse and pulled out a business card holder. Her hands weren't shaking now. In fact, they seemed quite steady as she extracted a card and handed it to Maya. Maya took it and read, "Eleanor Patricia Montgomery, founder and majority shareholder, Skybridge Airlines." For a moment, the words didn't process. Maya read the card again, then a third time. Skybridge Airlines. The airline she'd been flying on. The airline Eleanor was flying on right now. "I don't understand," Maya said slowly. "I own this airline," Eleanor said quietly. "Well, I own 51% of it, which gives me controlling interest. I founded Skybridge 43 years ago with my late husband." Maya stared at her. "You own an airline?" "I do." "And you were struggling with the check-in kiosk?" "I was," Eleanor confirmed. "I don't usually fly commercial anymore. I have a private plane for business, but I wanted to fly regular today. I wanted to see what the real passenger experience is like, how our staff treats people, how our systems work, or don't work, as the case may be." She paused. "I do this sometimes, travel incognito. My executives don't know. I just want to see the truth of what we're offering people." Maya's mind was reeling. So this whole thing was a test? No, Eleanor said quickly, shaking her head. No, Maya, that's not what I mean at all. My anxiety attack was real. My sister really is dying in Seattle. Everything I told you was true. I really was struggling and overwhelmed and scared. That was all completely genuine. But you're a millionaire, Maya said, still trying to process this. Probably a billionaire. You could have just told someone who you were and gotten whatever help you needed. I could have, Eleanor agreed. But I wanted to see what would happen if I was just another elderly passenger who needed help. And what I saw was, she gestured around the terminal. Most people walked right past me. Your airline staff, my airline staff, were too busy or too indifferent to help. That one employee at the bag drop counter couldn't have been ruder if she tried. Maya remembered the young woman with the tight ponytail, the one who'd sighed at Eleanor and demanded the baggage fee without any compassion. And then there was you. Eleanor continued, her voice softening. You stopped. You missed your flight. You spent your own money. You sat with me during a panic attack. You called my daughter. You treated me with such kindness and respect, not because of who I am or what I own, but because I'm a human being who needed help. Anyone would have done the same, Maya said weakly. But they didn't, Eleanor said, her voice firm now. I sat at that kiosk for 20 minutes before you showed up, and dozens of people walked past me. Some looked right at me and kept going. The only person who stopped was you. The gate agent announced boarding for passengers needing assistance. Eleanor didn't move. I want to do something for you, Eleanor said. You don't need to. Please, let me finish. Eleanor pulled out her phone, not the old flip phone Maya had seen earlier, but a sleek smartphone that had been hidden in a different pocket. I'm going to make a call. I want you to listen, but don't say anything yet, okay? Before Maya could respond, Eleanor was dialing. Someone answered on the first ring. Richard, it's Eleanor, she said in a voice that was suddenly much stronger, much more authoritative than the frail tone Maya had heard all morning. I need you to set up the executive video conference room at gate C7 immediately. Yes, right now. I don't care if it's unusual. Make it happen in the next 15 minutes, she paused, listening. No, I'm fine. I'm at the airport. I'll explain later. Just get the room ready. Full video conferencing capability. And Richard? Find out what company had a presentation scheduled in New York this morning. The client would be... She looked at Maya. What's the name of the company you were pitching to? Maya's mouth fell open. Riverside Tech Solutions. Riverside Tech Solutions, Eleanor repeated into the phone. Get their meeting coordinator on the line and tell them we need to reschedule the meeting for a video conference in 30 minutes. Tell them it's urgent and that there was an emergency. Be persuasive, Richard. I know you can do it. Another pause. I don't care what you have to tell them. Make it work. Call me back in 10 minutes. She hung up and looked at Maya, whose brain had apparently stopped functioning. What did you just do? Maya whispered. I'm giving you a chance to make your presentation, Eleanor said simply. Skybridge has executive lounges in every major airport with full video conferencing capabilities. We use them for emergency meetings when executives are traveling. You're going to use one to pitch your client. But they're in New York. They're expecting an in-person meeting. And my assistant is very persuasive, Eleanor said with a slight smile. Richard has been with me for 20 years. If anyone can convince them to do a video conference instead, it's him. Besides, they'll reschedule if they want your business badly enough. Maya felt tears pricking at her eyes. Eleanor, I can't let you do this. You can't stop me, Eleanor said. And now she sounded exactly like what she was. A woman who'd built an airline empire from, nothing. I'm not doing this to pay you back, Maya. I'm doing this because you deserve the opportunity and I have the power to give it to you. That's all. Your flight is boarding, Maya said weakly, gesturing to the gate where the agent was now calling for Zone 1 passengers. My flight will wait if I tell it to wait, Eleanor said matter-of-factly. I own the airline, remember? Besides, I'm not leaving until I know you're set up in that conference room with your presentation ready to go. Maya opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She didn't know what to say. Her mind was spinning, trying to keep up with how drastically her situation had changed in the span of 5 minutes. Eleanor's phone rang. She answered it, listened for a moment, then smiled. Excellent work, Richard. And the clients? Her smile grew wider. Perfect. Yes, we'll head there now. Thank you. She hung up and turned to Maya. Riverside Tech Solutions has agreed to a video conference in 30 minutes. They're setting up their end now. The executive lounge is ready for you, so... Eleanor stood up, moving much more steadily than she had all morning. Shall we? Your flight has been delayed 15 minutes due to a minor technical issue, Eleanor said with a wink. At least that's what the captain is announcing right now. Amazing how those technical issues pop up exactly when you need them to. Maya stood up on shaky legs, grabbing both carry-on bags. I don't even know what to say. Then don't say anything yet, Eleanor said, linking her arm through Maya's. Just come with me, give the presentation of your life, and we'll talk after. Deal? Maya nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. As they walked toward the executive lounge, Eleanor leaned in close. And Maya? Everything you did for me today? That kindness, that compassion, that willingness to sacrifice for someone else. That's exactly the kind of person I want representing my airline. Maya looked at her sharply. What does that mean? But Eleanor just smiled mysteriously and kept walking. The Skybridge Airlines executive lounge was nothing like Maya had ever seen before. While regular airport lounges had snacks and comfortable chairs, this was something else entirely. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the runway. Leather chairs that probably cost more than her monthly rent. A full bar, though it was only 8 in the morning. And in the back corner, a private conference room with glass walls and the most sophisticated video setup Maya had ever seen outside of a corporate headquarters. Eleanor led her straight to it, moving with a confidence and energy that seemed impossible, given how frail she'd appeared just an hour ago. A young man in a crisp suit was waiting for them, holding a tablet. Mrs. Montgomery, he said, relief flooding his face. I'm so glad you're all right. When you called, I was worried. I'm fine, Richard. This is Maya Johnson. She's going to be using the conference room for the next hour. Eleanor turned to Maya. Richard is my executive assistant. Whatever you need, he'll get it for you. Water, coffee, extra time, technical support, anything. Richard extended his hand to Maya with a warm smile. It's a pleasure to meet you, Ms. Johnson. Mrs. Montgomery speaks very highly of you. Maya shook his hand, still feeling like she was in some kind of dream. Thank you. I need to set up my laptop and go through my presentation files. Of course. The system is compatible with any device. Just connect here. Richard pointed to a port on the sleek conference table, and your screen will display on the monitor for the video call. The camera is here, positioned at eye level so you'll appear professional. I've already tested the connection with Riverside Tech Solutions. They'll be ready in 25 minutes. 25 minutes. Maya felt her heart start to race. She'd been preparing for this presentation for 3 months, but suddenly her mind felt blank. Eleanor must have seen the panic on her face because she gently guided Maya to one of the conference chairs. Breathe. You know your material. You've prepared. The only difference between this and your original plan is the location. And the fact that I look like I've been crawling around an airport floor collecting pills, Maya said, glancing down at her wrinkled suit with the smudge on the knee. Richard, Eleanor said calmly, have someone bring up a steamer and a blazer from our executive clothing collection. Something in Ms. Johnson's size. Right away, Mrs. Montgomery. As Richard hurried off, Maya turned to Eleanor. You have an executive clothing collection? For emergencies. Spilled coffee before a meeting, lost luggage, that sort of thing. Technically, it's for Skybridge executives, but I think we can make an exception. Eleanor sat down across from Maya. Now talk me through your presentation. What's your pitch? Maya pulled out her laptop, her hands trembling slightly as she opened the file. It's a comprehensive marketing strategy for Riverside Tech Solutions. They're a mid-sized software company that's been struggling with brand recognition. My approach focuses on authentic storytelling, highlighting the real people behind their products rather than just the technical specifications. Go on, Eleanor encouraged. Most tech companies market to businesses by listing features and benefits. Faster processing, better integration, cost savings. But nobody remembers that. Nobody feels anything about that. Maya was warming up now, falling into the rhythm of her pitch. What people remember are stories. So my strategy centers on the developers, the customer service teams, the real humans who make the company work. We tell their stories, show their passion, make the brand about people rather than products. Eleanor was nodding, her eyes bright with interest. That's brilliant. Why wasn't your boss excited about this? Maya laughed bitterly. Oh, he was excited. That's why he gave me the green light to pitch it. But I don't think he ever really believed I could close a client this big. I'm good at my job, but I'm not a senior partner. I don't have the fancy degree or the industry connections. I think he figured I'd do the groundwork and then someone more senior would take over. But you wanted to prove you could do it yourself, Eleanor said. Exactly. Maya felt the familiar fire in her chest, the determination that had driven her to work late nights and early mornings on this pitch. I wanted to show that you don't need to come from privilege or have an Ivy League MBA to understand what connects with people. Sometimes the best marketers are the ones who've actually struggled, who understand what it's like to be overlooked. Eleanor was quiet for a moment, studying Maya with that intense gaze again. Then she smiled. You're going to do wonderfully. Richard returned with a clothing rack holding several blazers and a handheld steamer. I brought a few options. The dressing room is just through that door. Maya selected a deep blue blazer that fit perfectly and took 5 minutes to steam the worst wrinkles out of her blouse and pants. When she looked in the mirror, she almost looked put together again. Professional, capable, like someone who deserved to pitch to a major client. When she returned to the conference room, Eleanor was speaking quietly on her phone. She hung up as Maya entered. That was the gate agent, Eleanor said. My flight is now delayed 30 minutes. Also due to technical difficulties. She smiled. You have my full attention for your entire presentation. I want to watch. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Besides, I'm curious to see this pitch that you sacrificed so much for. Maya set up her laptop, connecting it to the video system. Her presentation slides appeared on the large monitor, crisp and professional looking. Richard brought her a bottle of water and a cup of coffee, then quietly excused himself. 5 minutes, Eleanor said, checking her watch. Maya used those 5 minutes to review her notes, take deep breaths and try to calm her racing heart. She thought about everything that had happened that morning. Missing her flight, helping Eleanor, the panic attack, the phone call with her furious boss, and now this, a second chance she never could have imagined. At exactly 9 o'clock, the video screen flickered to life. 3 people appeared on the monitor, seated in what looked like a corporate boardroom. 2 men and 1 woman, all in business attire, all looking polished and professional. The older man spoke first. Ms. Johnson, can you hear us? Yes, perfectly. Thank you so much for agreeing to this video conference. I apologize for the confusion this morning. We understand there was an emergency, the woman said. Her tone was neutral, not warm, but not hostile either. We appreciate you finding a way to still meet with us. We're on a tight timeline for this decision. I understand completely. Maya clicked to her first slide. I'm going to show you why authentic storytelling will transform your brand recognition and customer loyalty. And then she was off, falling into the presentation she'd rehearsed 100 times. She talked about market research, about consumer psychology, about the power of human connection in an increasingly automated world. She showed mock-ups of campaigns, outlined social media strategies, presented projected ROI numbers. But more than that, she told stories. She talked about a software developer she'd interviewed during her research, a woman who'd worked at Riverside Tech for 15 years and still got excited about solving customer problems. She described a customer service representative who'd stayed on the phone for 3 hours, helping an elderly client set up their system, not because he had to, but because he cared. As she spoke, Maya realized something. She was telling Eleanor's story too, in a way. She was talking about seeing people as human beings, about compassion and connection, about the choices we make when nobody's watching. She glanced at Eleanor, who was sitting off to the side of the camera's view. The elderly woman was leaning forward, completely engaged, a slight smile on her face. Maya finished her presentation and opened the floor for questions. The 3 executives peppered her with them. Tough questions about implementation timelines, budget allocation, measurability of results. Maya answered each one confidently, drawing on her months of preparation. Finally, the older man leaned back in his chair. Ms. Johnson, I'm going to be frank with you. When we agreed to this video conference, I was skeptical. We'd blocked out time for an in-person meeting, and I wasn't sure a video call would give us the same sense of your capabilities. Maya's heart sank. Here it comes, she thought. The rejection. But, he continued, and Maya's breath caught, I'm impressed. Very impressed. Your presentation was thorough, creative, and compelling. More importantly, you clearly understand our brand values better than we understand them ourselves. The woman nodded. I agree. The human-centered approach is exactly what we've been missing. When can you start? Maya blinked. What? We'd like to move forward with your proposal, the younger man said. Pending contract negotiations, of course, but we're ready to commit. Can you have a detailed implementation plan to us by the end of next week? Yes, Maya said, her voice stronger now. Absolutely. I can have that to you by Friday. They spent another 10 minutes discussing next steps, contract details, and timeline expectations. When the video call finally ended, Maya just sat there staring at the blank screen. She'd done it. She'd actually done it. Eleanor stood up and started clapping, a genuine, delighted smile on her face. That was exceptional. Truly exceptional. Maya turned to her, and suddenly the tears she'd been holding back all morning came flooding out. I can't believe that just happened. I thought my career was over. I thought I'd ruined everything. You didn't ruin anything, Eleanor said, walking over and placing a hand on Maya's shoulder. You made a choice to help someone who needed it, and the universe rewarded you for that choice. The universe didn't reward me, Maya said, wiping her eyes. You did. If you hadn't been who you are, if you hadn't had access to this conference room, I would have lost that client forever. Perhaps, Eleanor said. Or perhaps you would have found another way. People like you, Maya, people with your character and your determination, they tend to find a way. Maya took a shaky breath, trying to compose herself. Your flight. You need to get to Seattle. I do, Eleanor agreed. But before I go, I need to ask you something. That presentation you just gave about human-centered marketing, about seeing people as individuals rather than numbers, do you believe in that? Or was it just a good pitch? I believe in it, Maya said without hesitation. I've always believed that business works better when you treat people with dignity and respect. Employees, customers, everyone. Eleanor nodded slowly, like Maya had just confirmed something she'd been thinking. How would you feel about putting that belief into practice on a larger scale? What do you mean? Skybridge Airlines needs a director of customer experience, Eleanor said. Someone who can overhaul how we treat passengers, how we train staff, how we design our services. Someone who understands that every person who steps onto our planes deserves to be treated with kindness, whether they're flying first class or economy, whether they're 25 or 85. Maya stared at her. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an opportunity, Eleanor corrected. The position pays 3 times what you're making now. Full benefits, travel allowances, and the authority to make real changes. You'd report directly to me and have a team of 15 people under you. But you don't even know me, Maya protested. We met 3 hours ago. I know everything I need to know, Eleanor said firmly. I know you're compassionate. I know you're willing to sacrifice for others. I know you're creative and articulate and capable under pressure. And I know that when you saw someone struggling, you stopped to help, even when it cost you everything. She paused. Those are the qualities I need in someone who's going to represent the values of my airline. Not an MBA from Harvard. Not years of corporate experience, character. That's what I'm hiring for. Maya felt like she couldn't breathe. I have the Riverside Tech contract now. I can't just abandon that. You'd finish out that project, Eleanor said. This wouldn't start for 3 months. That gives you time to transition your current work and think about whether this is what you want. 3 times my current salary, Maya repeated, still trying to process this. Plus bonuses based on customer satisfaction scores. If you improve our ratings, you could make even more. Maya thought about her tiny apartment, her student loans, the constant stress of making rent every month. She thought about her boss who didn't believe in her, the office politics, the feeling of always having to prove herself. Then she thought about Eleanor, struggling at that kiosk, overlooked by so many people. She thought about what it would mean to create a company culture where that never happened, where every passenger was treated with the dignity Eleanor deserved. Can I think about it? Maya asked. Of course. Take all the time you need. I'll have Richard send you the formal job description and details. Eleanor picked up her small carry-on bag. But right now I really do need to catch my flight. My sister is waiting. They walked back through the executive lounge toward the gate. Eleanor moved slowly again, but it seemed more like a choice now rather than a necessity. At the gate, the agent immediately came over, all smiles and attention now. Mrs. Montgomery, we're ready to board you whenever you'd like. Eleanor turned to Maya one last time. Thank you for everything you did for me today. Not just the help, but the reminder of what really matters. Maya hugged her. This woman who'd been a stranger just hours ago and now felt like so much more. Tell your sister I hope she gets better. I will. Eleanor pulled back, her eyes misty. And Maya, whatever you decide about the job, know that you changed my company today. I saw firsthand how my staff treats vulnerable passengers, and that's going to change. You've already made a difference. Maya watched as Eleanor boarded the plane, feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Her phone buzzed. A text from her boss. We need to talk when you get back. She smiled and typed a response. I secured the Riverside Tech contract. Full pitch approved. They want to move forward. There was a long pause, then, what? How? Long story. I'll explain when I'm back in Atlanta. She sat down in the now empty gate area and pulled up her email. There was already a message from Richard with the subject line, Director of Customer Experience, position details. Maya opened it and started reading. The job description was everything Eleanor had promised and more. The salary made her eyes water. But more than that, the mission statement resonated with everything she believed in. Creating an airline where every passenger is treated with dignity, compassion, and respect, regardless of who they are or where they're going. She thought about her grandmother, about the lessons she'd learned at her knee, about choosing people over profit, about stopping to help even when it's inconvenient, about the kind of person she wanted to be. 3 months later, Maya walked into Skybridge Airline's headquarters for her first day as Director of Customer Experience. She'd finished the Riverside Tech project, delivered exceptional results, and quit her old job with her head held high. Her former boss had tried to convince her to stay, suddenly seeing her value now that she had other options, but Maya had declined. Eleanor was waiting in the lobby to personally welcome her. The elderly woman looked strong and vibrant, her eyes bright with energy. How's your sister? Maya asked as they hugged. She's doing better, actually. The doctors say she might have more time than they thought. I'm going back to visit her next month. Eleanor smiled. And this time I'm taking my private plane. I've done enough incognito research for a while. They rode the elevator to the executive floor, where Maya would have her own office overlooking the city. As they walked down the hallway, Eleanor talked about the changes that had already started. That employee at the bag drop counter, the one who was so rude, she's been retrained. Actually, our entire customer service staff is going through new training based on what happened that day. We're calling it the Dignity Initiative. That's wonderful, Maya said. It's just the beginning, Eleanor said. That's where you come in. Over the next year, Maya transformed the culture at Skybridge Airlines. She implemented new training programs focused on empathy and human connection. She redesigned the check-in process to be more accessible for elderly passengers and people with disabilities. She created a feedback system that actually listened to customer complaints and acted on them. Customer satisfaction scores rose by 40%. Employee retention improved. The airline started winning awards for customer service. But more than any of that, Maya knew she was honoring her grandmother's legacy. Every policy she created, every training session she led, every decision she made came back to that simple question. How would I want someone to treat Grandma Rose? And whenever she needed inspiration, she thought about that morning in the airport, about a choice she'd made to miss a flight and help a stranger, about how one act of kindness had changed not just her life, but the lives of millions of passengers who would fly on Skybridge Airlines for years to come. Eleanor became more than a boss. She became a mentor, a friend, and eventually, like a second grandmother to Maya. They had lunch together every week, talking about business and life and everything in between, and sometimes, when Eleanor felt up to it, she'd still fly commercial, just to check, just to see. And every time, she'd come back with stories about flight attendants who went out of their way to help struggling passengers, about gate agents who showed compassion, about the culture of kindness that was spreading through the airline. You did this, Eleanor would say, but Maya knew the truth. They'd done it together. One missed flight, one act of compassion, one choice to put humanity before convenience. That's all it had taken to change everything.